Got a little bit of an orientation problem here tonight, but I will make it work. For some reason, it didn't want to accept the orientation that I was going to use. But this one's not so bad. Let me move things over a bit. Yeah, actually, I can lean in a little bit more. Maybe this is not so bad. How's everybody doing out there? Welcome to Upstairs to the Right Music channel. We are doing our Sunday at Mike's, and I do appreciate you taking the time to show up tonight and watch. Um, yeah, we are doing some interesting live streams these last few days. I've been really happy with the connection that I'm making with new people who are joining into the live streams, as well as some of the topics that we've been covering. It's been pretty good stuff. And the feedback and the way you guys have been participating has been really fantastic. So I just got a really good feeling about it. Mickey, good evening. Ben, good evening. Hope you're all good. Hope everybody's doing good. While waiting for more people to show up here in the live stream, let me check here and see how this looks. Yeah, that's all right. You know, you have two choices of orientation as far as doing live streams on YouTube. I prefer the widescreen ones, and I do believe coming up in the future that YouTube is going to start having a preference towards those. And you can set it up inside of your app when you're registering a live stream, when you're putting it up for future views, and you can select the orientation. And I always select horizontal. For some reason, it wouldn't accept it tonight, so I said, "Hey, we'll just go vertical here." Not so bad. It's all right. Get to see the keys a little bit here. So that's always kind of a good framing. I like it. Good evening, Mr. Watson. How are you doing? Thank you so much for showing up. We're just waiting here, warming up, waiting for people to show up in the live stream here. Today, guys, it was a miracle. I actually got the opportunity to put the primer coat on that 2001 Squire Affinity body that I've been wanting to repaint forever. I got the right combination of the right temperature outside and right weather, nice sunny day. And I put on a coat of primer, a couple of coats actually today. It'll be a 3-day process. So I put on 3 sprays, then I wait till the next day, then another 3, and then another 3. I'll see where it's at tomorrow. If the weather holds up and I have the time to do it, I will see how that holds up. I think really with the primer though, the way it's feeling, the way it's looking, I think probably 2 days worth of primer sprays would probably work. Now I did not set up my spray tint. I didn't do that. Uh, I'll set that up when I get into seriously painting it. Then I'm going to need it. But for putting the primer on, it wasn't really necessary getting into all that. But yeah, I'm actually that some progress. That's actually the body that this neck is destined to be on. It's been sitting here gathering dust like Emotip's temple, but it actually might actually have a chance of coming together here soon. So I'm excited about that. I was glad to be able to do that, and it's always fun doing painting on guitar bodies. I don't do it as often as I should. It's been a while actually, and I hope it comes out. I'm planning on doing it like a metallic silver, but we'll see. I'm thinking about it. I have the colors here. I got two. I'm trying to decide between. So there was that today. So that was good. Also, yeah, I talked to you guys about um, Palawan, did you do something with the camera? Yeah, I was just explaining tonight that for some reason it would not accept my horizontal usual view, so I had to do vertical today. But this is all right. This works. One is a one-off. Hopefully, it's the thing about the software when you use YouTube. It's pretty catch can, and sometimes it works for you, sometimes it does not. Silver would be cool. Yeah, I actually, um, yeah, I have them over here. The two colors I'm thinking. One is antique gold, and it would go with this white. Or if I go with the silver, it'll go with the HH configuration plate that I have here as well. Still deciding. Teach me for being a couple of no, you're not late. I'm glad you're here. You're always welcome, man. No lateness, no tardiness here. Better late than never, I always say. That's been a proven truity in my life. Well, I've been talking about these Yamaha guitars, the Yamaha like Les Paul models, type models. And it has been confirmed by my agent in Japan that I am now the proud owner of another Yamaha. Again, this one is fairly rare because it only came out for a year between 1982 and 1983. And I'm excited about that coming through. But again, I research the heck out of things when I buy them. That's my kind of Achilles heel. Is that if I'm going to get into something, of course, I'm going to find out what its value is, things that the market demands, and things like that. The rarity, in this case, this is a pretty rare bird, and things like that, and the price. Make sure that they're not being outrageous when they're asking. And but then once I get it, of course, I have to someday unbox it and possibly review it and talk about it with you guys, share it with you guys. And I'd like to be as knowledgeable as possible on something when I get it. Of course, when it moves on to a client, I would like to be able to let them know what it is that they have, what they have in front of them. So that's all to the good. But, however, man, when it comes to these Yamahas, it's as just like last live stream, we talked about why the made in Japan strats are a minefield if you're trying to figure out which one is the best one to buy, what years are the best years, and things like that. Well, the Yamahas are no different. Um, I touched on the fact that Yamaha doesn't reach into rock and roll history like Fender and Gibson, for example, because going back to the heyday of rock and roll in the 60s and 70s, it was primarily those two companies that dominated. You had Ibanez come in 1980s when you started getting to shredders, um, but Yamaha never really had a strong position in that market. And so, as a result of that, they don't have the cachet that those other names have. However, people know that they are quality instruments. And since so many of the really nice ones were domestic only, when you can come across examples of the domestic only Yamahas, especially the ones that were produced in the late 1970s and early 80s, boy, you can find some really good stuff there. Again, um, Yamaha is a well-known name, so it's it's not like Fernandez or Bacchus. It's not. Excuse me, guys. I'm taking my slippers off here to get myself comfortable here. Um, it's not like those companies. It's still well known. I mean, everybody respects Yamaha acoustic guitars. That my acoustic guitar is Yamaha. And the thing is, but they don't have that cachet, as I was saying. But it's quite a quagmire. And when you go online to do a little research, a little bit of digging, man, that's when I talk about the myth busters. One of the other reasons why I'm seeking some of these instruments and trying to buy them and bring them forward is because there's so many myths out there about these instruments and misinformation as well. It's a Chinese whisper game. One person at the end of the line starts with one sentence, and by the time it gets to the end of that line, it's completely different. And the gear pages of the world out there, not to pick on them in particular, but just to use them as a form example, are no different. And a lot of guesswork, a lot of guys that are guessing say, well, I heard this, that, and the other, and this year and that year. And then, you know, then you get the guys who are just like, that's how it is. And wrong. That's not how it was. You're completely wrong. They'll stand by it because they heard it backstage back in, 82 at their high school gym. And their buddy who was playing bass, who, by the way, was also messing around with his girlfriend, told him the story about. Anyway, you get the point. It's just a lot of misinformation out there that just gets carried on and carried on. So it is kind of a good thing, again, to get into these instruments and do a little bit of myth busting. And this one that's coming in, it's another Studio Lord, but this is again the first Studio Lord was the Studio Lord 700 that was made in '79. This one was made 3 years later in '82, and it is a completely different beast. Actually, they're different. Again, this one would be more in line with what Orville by Gibson was doing or beginning to do at that time, or setting up to do, I guess is the best way in the timeline to look at that. And I believe that they had an influence there as well. So there's that. Dana Jones. The days of brick and mortar stores are done. I ordered a new Guild Deluxe puller off of Amazon and got it in 2 days. Yeah, I'm leading up to that. I'm waiting for more. Well, there's enough people in here tonight. We can start. We can start. Anyway, I'm excited for that new Studio 450 to come in. Should be here. It's Golden Week in Japan. Everything's shut down. Even my agent, I'm not even bothering him. I'm letting him have his time into the middle of next week. So that's all right. That's groovy. But it'll get here eventually. I can't wait. Actually, I'm kind of excited to see it. I've always wanted to check one of these out. Tonight, we are going to discuss a couple of things. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was not well today. I had one of my relapses, I guess you could call it, with my condition. But as I was laying there in misery, I thought about what I would. I'm feeling better now. We'll see how long I go tonight. But I'm feeling energized. I'm feeling hyped. I'm feeling pumped. So I'm here with you guys. Yeah, like I said, I draw a lot of energy off of you guys. So when I'm literally, hanging on a thread, I do appreciate you showing up because it cheers me up. So there's that too. Sam Ash, AI, Spotify, and how screwed you already are. I didn't title this How Screwed You Will Be, Could Be. I titled it How Screwed You Already Are, and who's the you? Well, we'll define that a little bit. But this is also going to be a thought exercise tonight with me. I have no notes other than something I want to read you um, to jump off this topic tonight. But tonight's uh, discussion came about again, tying back to that Tonex pedal, the Tonex One pedal. I can't seem to get away from that topic. Um, because it's so intriguing, but I'm looking at it at so many different angles than what's being presented. And tonight is no exception. But when I was talking about that, I played you guys the beta version of that AI music uh, that you can go to. It's a web page you can go to, AI music, that has the vocals. It's got the backing music. It does the arrangements. If you don't like the arrangement, you can retype it in and it'll rejigger it until you get it to the way you like it. Any kind of vocalist, male, female, any kind of style, soul, rock, pop, jazz. The computer does it all. There's nothing human other than those who wrote the original learning algorithm involved in this thing. And as it learns and as it sucks more people's music in, it'll get better. But in conjunction with that Tonex pedal, I pointed out with this being around, I said, what the heck do you need the Tonex pedal for? Because you're out of a job basically anyway. You know, if you're doing any kind of studio work of any level, of any style, of any genre, you can pretty much will hang it up on that one. So I guess if you want the Tonex pedal for a live situation, which I do believe is the option, but look how they're sewing that up. There's no coincidence that they're building so many stadiums. I believe in the UK alone, there's 11 additional stadiums that they're building. And this is not just there; it's in many countries that they're. You have Live Nation and people like that invested in because they're investing in these because these will be the new. In Rome, they had one Colosseum where you could be entertained. The masses could be entertained by bread and circuses. In this case, they're building multiples of them for artists that they will deem to put up there. And eventually, even those artists, as AI and 3D technology gets better, a lot of those artists might start seeing, well, they already are, seeing their paychecks dry up. So that's an already are right there with that Tonex pedal. Because again, if you're playing live, if you're a live player, then sure, it's great. If you want it for home, for messing around, it's great. If you're thinking that your job writing jingles or beats or anything like that, uh, that's why I hate this angle because I also have to always refresh it. You're screwed. Sig Sauer stadiums, aka the new FEMA camps. No, they're not FEMA camps. That implies something else. No, these are again the right analogy there is the Colosseum in Rome and what went on there, the entertainments that were provided there. That is the right analogy. They are building the new Bill Stadium legit across the street. So dumb, and we got to pay. Yeah, that's the other thing too. They'll stick you with the bill, whether you use it or not. So again, so that Tonex pedal to me is an intriguing, and then they're selling it there again. I read you the copy on that, and they said AI was the predominant thing that drove this pedal's engine. And again, this same AI can be accessed by the AI that's producing music now. So they have that. Yeah, hey, it has access. Eventually, it will have access to all of those IRs. So that's what got me thinking when I said that. Have you thought about that? I said, did you think about that? And there are big news this week that, believe it or not, ties into how screwed we are currently. Is that Sam Ash? Everybody's talking about Sam Ash. Well, we saw it as a small dribble at first. Well, we'll let this one go. We'll let these few go, and we'll whittle it down and see where it got. But it was just an untenable position to be in financially for them. And so, especially with the death of Sammy Ash, whom I have a lot of respect for. Again, his design uh, suggestions, along with the guitar player from the Cars, is what's behind the Les Paul. Uh, what is that? The Les Paul that came out in 92, 93. Not the standard. Guys, I'm drawing a blank. I'm tired. See, but I'm just not myself. It was in my head. It'll come back to me. But he was really behind the design of that Les Paul classic, the classic model. And I've owned two Les Paul classics. And of all the Gibson Les Pauls, the classics I think are some of the best, actually, really better than the standards. And I think with the loss of Sammy Ash, who was the driving force behind that company, Unfortunately, they are no longer able to hold it together. So they're saying we're going to have to close our doors altogether unless we can find an investment group that's willing to invest in us. Now, um, will they find a buyer? Possibly. I think that there's a strong chance that they'll find a buyer, and that buyer will whittle down the number of stores, and then they may try whittle it down so at least they have them as locations in central places. Those will be the key ones. Um, all the other ones will get shut down, and they'll try to drive a bigger online presence, which is where we started off with Dana Jones pointing out to us that the days of brick and mortar our stores are done because he's ordering online. You know, the closing of so you had mom and pop stores. It's called the Walmart effect, if you're familiar with it. You had the mom and pop stores, and then the Walmarts of the world came in, and because they had a bigger place and could get items cheaper, they drove the mom and pops out. And then the Walmart started failing eventually. And in this case, these would be the Guitar Centers and the Sam Ashes of this scenario. And your choices are again being driven closer, especially during the pandemic. The pandemic, one of the results, whether intended or not, changed the shopping and buying styles of most people, the buying habits, the way they purchase things. Now, me, I am of the try it before you buy it kind of generation. You know, let me get this guitar or several of them if a chance comes up to be in a music store and to be able to sample several different ones of the same one. Uh, and see which ones are good, which ones are a dud. You know, that's even within the same line. You know, you can get a different thing out of. You got 10 guitars and get 10 different tones out of the same line. But those days are over. So what we do is we make decisions online. We get it in, we play it a little bit, and we say, "Oh, I like it," or "I don't like it." We don't have anything other than maybe what we, unless you bought two. I'm going to buy two of them and send one. I'm going to play them both and send one back. I guess that would be one way of doing it. Uh, but you got really nothing to bounce it off of. So, you know, it really just comes down to is it decent? You know, this is anything popping off of it? You know, are the tuners screwed incorrectly? You know, and so you're driven to less choices as a consumer, and so this is how screwed you already are. Another one of the ways. So the closing of Sam Ash um, really should be alarming. And I think it is to some. To some who see, it should be alarming, and you really find in the stores, the Guitar Centers, for example, that are open, that are somewhat sticking around, that the quality of the stuff inside those stores is not very great. They'll have, and again, there's no such thing as a cheap guitar. It's either a good guitar or a bad guitar. Its cost is irrelevant to that kind of thinking. But you'll have inexpensive guitars like Squires and Epiphones and the Guitar Centers hanging on the wall. But you won't see a lot of higher end stuff. You certainly won't see any custom shop stuff. You won't see anything like that. Even the amps, they'll be, you know, lower cost amps. And if you really want to get something good, you got to go online. So there's that. So interestingly enough, with that, we find ourselves as consumers backed into a corner. And even I'm one to talk. My whole business is built on finding things online literally halfway across the world and buying it on a whim and shipping it over to this side of the world and hoping that my eye made the right choice. And would I prefer to be able to go over to Japan, fly over, and make those kind of trips every month? No, no. The idea of a 14-hour flight right now does 14 hours there and 12 on the way back does not appeal to me right now. I have logged more air miles than most men really should, except for my father because he was a pilot, he was a captain. So there's that. But I've logged than most ordinary, non-pilot guys should in my life. So for me, there is that. I do have an agent there, however. I do have the human that I can send to the shop and take pictures and send me back. So I've got a little bit more than usual in my scenario. But again, I would prefer to be there myself if I could, if it was feasible. Because again, I'm of the mindset try it before you buy it. And again, when you're walking in shops, they got stuff that's not even online or something that just came in. There's that all the time. Those are the kind of things actually that I'm continuously looking for. I'm looking for the stuff that just came in, but I'm doing it halfway across the world. So this is where we're at. This is the day and age that we live in. All right. So we talked about AI a little bit. We've talked about Sam Ash a little bit. Let's talk about what would seemingly be to those two subjects not really related, but they're all related. I'll bring all this together. Let's talk about Spotify. Again, I mentioned this. I guess tonight's discussion is really me kind of summing up a few live streams that we've had because we touched upon Spotify as well at one point. But I'm going to read this to you guys again. And this is interesting enough. This is from Bloomberg. This is from Bloomberg. This is talking about Spotify's new streaming model. This is the new model. It's the same crap. It's just got a different label on it, except for in this case, they have done a few changes that affected me as an artist and a lot of other people, as you'll see here in a moment. But I'm going to tie this in. But let me just read this to you. One out of every 78 streams in the United States, you Americans, you Yanks out there, I'm looking at you. One out of every 78 streams in the United States was a Taylor Swift song. Anybody surprised? One out of 78 streams in the United States. That's mind-boggling. More than 100,000 songs are delivered to platforms every day. But even more jaw-dropping, 45.6 million tracks had 0 streams last year. So you got 100,000 songs being uploaded every day to these platforms. But almost, let's just round it up to 50 million. 50 million of those tracks had 0 streams last year. And that's an intriguing thing too, because that led Spotify to say, okay, you got to have at least 1,000 streams in order to make money on this platform. And we're going to make it a royalty pool now. So we're going to pool all the money that comes in. And to be included in this shared royalty pool, your tracks have to reach a minimum of 100,000 streams per year And that's not just one song. Say I have like Asanoki, for example, the album Asanoki. Say I have one song that's a real big hit on that, and that thing is constantly hitting their level here. Actually, I do have one. I actually did two tracks on there that did well, that are doing 1,000 streams. Now, the other ones aren't doing anything at all. You would think that Spotify would say, okay, well, within this collection, because it's a collection, there are streams that are hitting that. So we'll let this collection into the pool, the shared royalty pool. No, no. The whole collection has to be every song. And I don't know how, other than Taylor Swift, which ain't every song gold, but for some reason everybody wants to hear every one of them. I don't know how many artists that every track on their album has that kind of, especially in the independent level. Even guys who are doing really good numbers, not every one of their tracks are hitting this, and they're automatically, because of that, they have two track every. They have 9, 10, 11, 12 tracks that are doing great. But if they have one or two on that collection that's just, kind of a fault, not doing much for whatever reason, then that collection is not included. So there's that. Um, this has made basically 152 million songs ineligible for compensation. Now, don't get me wrong. If you get 999 streams on that song, there is money that's being paid on that. They're just saying they're not going to give it to you. They're going to put it in this pool. So it's thievery. They're stealing, you know. And of course, it's small checks in these sub 1,000 things that they don't want to deal with. It's the reason behind it. One of the reasons. But it has basically condensed down the artists that they considered to be legit. You got locked as an independent artist, you got locked out of that distribution channel. You got locked out because they've made the decision. See, they're dictating things to the record companies now. Again, who watches the watchers? And the record companies are in cahoots with them as well. And there, you think the record company likes independent artists? No. You opened up, a big ass, hostess bakery shop with Twinkies and cupcakes and ho hos and ding dongs and all that good stuff. And then you got a little mom and pop across the street that opened up a natural bakery with really wholesome, good breads, fresh. I mean, it's just the smell of fresh, good bread, not with preservatives in it. uh, You'd want to shut them down too, because even though they're a small bakery, the quality of their product is actually better. You understand what I'm saying there? Yeah, they're both. You're a big bakery, but boy, your product is not the best. You know, Whap anybody? Wet ass. You know what? Kitty cat. That's the ding dong. Or the ho ho. That's the ho ho of musics. Literally. Yeah, ho ho, that works. So you see, Spotify, there's 152 million songs, or 150, not all, because there's a lot of ambient stuff and out there, but there is a great percentage of these that are independent artists from all over the world. From all over the world. It wasn't just in one geographic location, it was worldwide. Every independent artist got squeezed out. That circle, that pie was this big, and they made the pie this big. And you got to have the golden ticket in order to get in the room just to have a bite. And they dictate who gets a bite. And even with the artists that are like Taylor Swift, who are eligible for a bite, she is able to negotiate how much of the bite that she, gets. How many other people are like that? Not very many people. So even within that circle of the people who are invited to the pie party, there's hierarchies within that. So was that it? Was that all that I pulled out of this? Yeah, basically two major, just to tie that in, here's a name for you, Lucien Grange. Remember Lucien Grange? We talked about him when we were talking about things a couple of clicks back. Remember that guy? The CEO of UMG and Robert Council, the CEO of Warner, both sent out memos to the staff this week saying the priorities for the month ahead. They wanted their focus on monetizing and discovering super fans, create experimental commercial and content offerings for their fans. In other words, you know, where this is going again is not good. Alan Crandall, welcome, Alan. Thank you so much for. First, let me say thank you for showing up tonight. Spot on. The streaming services have literally stolen the opportunity to create and distribute your art and be fairly compensated. Yeah, through their distribution. Again, distribution is always the key. I pointed out that you could have a great TV show, but unless you got a satellite to put it up on, you're local only. You know, um, there is a show on Netflix. It was called The Naked Director, and it told the story of Japan in the 1990s. And I can't believe that I was there. It's like they're making movies about the time. It was so long ago. Oh my God, I was there. About this director and how he wanted to get his Japanese adult material up, and he had to fight the battle of getting a satellite. He discovered you don't have access, and they decide who gets in on the satellite. It's not a matter of, hey, let me use your satellite. I'll pay. No, no, we had to decide we want what you got on our satellite. There's that. And distribution systems are no different in the music scene. And Spotify and a lot of these others have become the de facto distributors in the new age of streaming. Back in the days of records, it was distribution shops. And some of them were just warehouses. I've been to a few back in the day. They were just pressing records. They were vinyl houses. They was pressing stuff and putting it out. And but that was a controlled situation too. Who got the distribution? Who controlled that? So, hey, Frederick Rogers, welcome. I was at a festival just in it. Welcome. I hope you didn't party too hard, sir. I hope you had a good time. Welcome. No, just breaking down how screwed we are already in a lot of ways in these new systems that are being built up. And again, you as Sam Ash as a consumer, shrinkage, AI as a producer of that term beats producer always funny to me. It's like I really don't understand. I understand it, but it sounds a little limiting. But regardless of what beats producer all the way up to a jazz producer, uh, you're screwed. Pie just shrunk. It was already shrinking. That pie is damn well down to a Twinkie at this point. There's not a lot of cream filling in it. It's a dry ass Twinkie, right? And so shrinkage there. And then we talked about Spotify as an independent artist shrinkage there. You see what I'm saying is that you're getting squeezed as a consumer, as a producer, as just about everything. It's like today's candy bars just getting smaller and smaller. Yeah, shrinkage. There's a term for that. They call it shrinkage. Same price, not the same amount. And a lot of that happens here. You can see that. I really didn't see a lot of that in Asia, but in the last few years that I've been here in Europe, I've experienced that. I actually seen that happen firsthand where I was like, hey, wait a minute. This used to be this size and now it's this size. Especially with the croissants here. There's a bakery up here on the corner. Their croissants used to be yay big. After the lockdowns, and then going forward, they have gotten smaller and smaller. It's more like a snack now for a pigeon. Yeah, fun-sized music industry. That's right, the bite-sized bars. So again, they don't seem related, but they're all related in the sense that you see shrinkage occurring in your choices. Yeah. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means a lot of things. None of them are good. You know, uh, as a consumer, one of the positive things that may not may strike that. As a consumer of musical instruments, one of the positive things that will come out of this is specialty shops and stores will be on the uprise. Much like in the vinyl industry, we saw an uptick in vinyl, a reinterest in that. There will be an interest in small mom and pop shops. Will the margins in those shops be great? No, they're not going to be great, but they'll be able to turn around enough business so that there is those options starting to come back. But these will be specialized shops. These are like if I specialize in vintage or near vintage Japanese guitars. Some shops will specialize in some other niche, and that is going to be again an online experience in some cases, or a dual in shopping kind of situation and online kind of thing. There's always going to be a component of online in all this because, again, like I said, there are some people who are just conditioned to that, and they don't care whether or not they try before they buy it. They just want to buy it, which is fair enough. Nothing wrong with that. um, Alan Crandall says substantial shrinkage according to George Costanza. Good Seinfeld quote. I think I saw that episode the other day. Yeah, I know, that's funny. That's a good quote. Um, we're just kind of screwed in a lot of ways, and it affects us in a lot of ways. But if you are that music producer, independent artist, uh, you know, consumer of instruments, buying stuff for your studio, things like that, your options just got. It's not the world that I grew up in. It's not that world anymore, and that's okay. Things change. I accept that. I'm not one of those like things have to stay the same. However, it is not a significant improvement. It's actually a detriment. Actually a bit of a detriment. Sig says, I mean, with YouTube being free for music, where can they get the money? Again, like I said, we pointed out that I touched upon it, that there are music artists with contracts that do not make any money from their music. Most of their music comes through deals that they tie-in deals that they do with perfumes and clothing lines and alcohol beverages, which oh, that's great. You're dealing in alcohol. Great, great. That makes you just the best artist. I don't remember. I don't remember it ever being a case when Joni Mitchell was pitching Code 45. But you guys go right here because they have to, because there's nothing else out there really for them to do in terms of getting income from the music, and they got to pay that loan back. So that means they got to go out and do tours, and especially they have a 360 deal. And again, that shrinkage occurring even with artists. I hit the like button. Okay, thank you, Frederick Rogers, for hitting the like button. Yeah, guys, 12 people watching, 7 likes. There's something wrong with the math there. Hit the likes, guys. Hit those likes. Hit the likes. Whether you're watching this live or you're going to watch this in the rerun, don't forget to hit the likes. And don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section if you watch this in the rerun as well. I love hearing from you guys a great deal. Thank you so much. Six Hour sponsorships are the new way of the world. Yeah. So again, um, that's kind of where you're at. Tony with the code 45. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. I knew somebody out there would dig that one. Just imagine that. Run that one through your head. It wouldn't happen. It was okay for Billy D. Joni, no. Huh? Lando Calrissian, he could pimp that stuff out, but not old Joni. But again, a different time. But these were true artists, and I just don't see them doing that. They hated their music being used for TV commercials. Do you think that they wanted to actually be in the TV commercial promoting the thing? What did Joni say? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. That's what she was talking about. That was the point of that. I'm afraid we've fallen far because the music industry didn't know how to handle streaming when it came in. And again, like I said, you don't put locks on the barn after the horses are out. It's too late. And they're trying to mop up and clean up at the point where, they're in cahoots with these streaming services. And none of them were good people, in the first place. They weren't exactly the most honest actors out there with their death clauses and, other things that they put in your contract. So what do you got? You got what you got. And again, so we're affected in so many ways by this shrinkage that's occurring in so many aspects. And I just talked about the things that directly affect us in this space. It stands out again, like I said, in a lot of different aspects of our lives. And I feel that YouTube, as it stands, unless they change this, and that's up to them, is a free distribution system. You got to do the work yourself, and you got to make it work yourself. But you can use YouTube in order to distribute your work as an independent artist. Again, a lot of channels have merch. They start getting T-shirts or mugs or things like that. And I thought, no, I'm upstairs to the right music channel. So music should be the merch that I sell. So I'm distributing through Bandcamp. I'm talking about it through my YouTube channel to reach out to people. It's local. So this is a local thing. It's not the big thing. It's not the big time, but I like it better. It's honest. And again, almost 90% of the funds come directly to me. I'm not splitting it with Mr. Lucian there and his cronies. And I think that as independent artists, that's the only opportunity you have at this point, and you got to put the work in. It's not a lot. It's not easy. It's a lot of work, but it's fulfilling work because when people buy your album this way, it does harken back to the old days of the record stores when you would walk in and you weren't even expecting to see them. You're like, "Oh, what's this album? Let me try it out." And you took it home and it ended up falling in love with him being one of your favorite groups that you follow. Again, like I said, it's harkening back to those days where you're discovering music and you're reaching out. And so there's a lot of titles, not just my title on Bandcamp. If you go to Bandcamp and you take a look, I suggest that you look at not just the titles that I have there, but the ones that other independent artists have. I'm sure you're going to find something there that you like because that's all we have left at this point. That's all we got left. But it's an okay place to be. I'm okay with it. You know, we see what happens to the big stars, and like I said, nobody gets. It's like that book. Remember that book, Nobody Gets Out Alive? You guys remember that one? Talking about rock music, the rock industry. Yeah. Uh, why would you want to be a part of that anyway? when you could build your own thing, build your own, start, gigging with the audience that you build, and then go from them. And then they're going to come to you and say, "Hey, we want to sign you up for our 360 deals, and our shitty, we're not going to pay you anything for 10 album deals." And you can say, "Screw you, I'm not interested. There's nothing that you have that interests me that I'm not already doing." Now they'll shut down the small clubs, by the way, and they'll only have these big venues. So, your lives that you perform might actually be live stream lives where it's virtual, because they're shutting these clubs down. So I think that's another shrinkage occurring there on the periphery as well. It's hurting it so that the independent artist doesn't even have the live venues to go to. And again, you have to be a part of that pie in order to get into these new stadiums that they're building for their bread and circuses. So again, I bring these points up as a subject tonight uh, that I pondered upon as I was again laying there today in misery. At least it got my thought. It gave me something to think about. But yeah, Sam Ash, AI, Spotify, they're all linked. They're all the same thing. They all tie in to how screwed you already are in terms of your choices. The choices are getting smaller, smaller, smaller. As George Costanza said, significant shrinkage. It's wet. Take that in consideration. Although, a lot of those sitcom jokes travel around because there's a similar setup in that 70s show with a similar line. And also in Big Bang Theory as well. Same one. I can do that same thing. So, these sitcom writers, they watch a lot of TV, so they borrow a lot. They really do. Um, but I appreciate Alan you bringing that one up. That tickled me. That's it, guys. I'm gonna call it a little short tonight because, again, like I said, I was not very well today. And I don't want to push it here. I actually would like to go to bed and get some rest and try to shake the remnants of this illness off before I start another week tomorrow. But I do want to thank you guys so much for showing up tonight. One of the things, whether I'm sick or not, you guys are always show up. And therefore, I'm going to make the commitment of always showing up with something to talk about, something interesting every time for you. Keep it consistent. Um, I'll bet a little short tonight. 53 millions. That's not bad. That's okay. So you guys take care, and I will see you soon. I am going to film some stuff. I want to put something on my radar. I didn't have any. I wanted to do it yesterday again, like I said. It's just been one of those things, guys. But I will catch up with that. Something's coming up here, I'm sure. I'll think of something on my regular channel. But of course, we'll be back here again this following Wednesday, same time, same bad channel. Until then, guys, you take care and God bless. Thank you so much for showing up. Bye.